visualization. We're talking about getting the neck of the femur within your image. Now, one way to get the neck in the center of your image, you've got two methods. Okay? Method one, you feel for the as is. You feel for the symphysis pubis. Okay? So you have this imaginary line, and in between those 2 points, you'll have your midpoint. Okay? Perpendicular to this line is 1.5 inches will find you the head of the femur. You go 2.5 inches, you will find the neck of the femur. That's method one. Now remember what I said. Am I going to be putting my hands on there? Okay. So we want to avoid touching the symphysis pubis as much as possible. So method two is a little bit more appropriate in finding the head and the neck. All right. So method two, find the as is. Medial to the as is, you're going to go about 1 to 2 inches immediately from the as is. From there, 3 to 4 inches down, you'll find the neck. Bless you. Okay? And you can do all this without touching the symphysis pubis. Okay? Any questions on finding the head and the neck? So again, method two is going to be more of the appropriate one. Method one, there is going to be some extra palpating, and we, again, try to avoid palpating the symphysis pubis when at all possible. Now, you still have some old schoolers out there, and they'll just, again, they're just feeling everything, okay? Now remember, you guys are observers, right? So just watch, don't make any comments, all right? All right, so now we have a radiographic depiction of what we just covered. So as is to symphysis pubis, perpendicular to that, about 1.5 inch will get you there. Another 2.5 inches will get you to the neck. Or this method of 1 to 2 inches in, 3 to 4 inches down, approximately at the neck without touching the symphysis pubis.
And you do that thing that you told us to...
And I can also do that, but what if there was a fracture on that side? Yeah. Yeah, you can't wiggle their leg because now you're doing crunch, 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 right? But you can do that on the opposite unaffected leg to find the level and then kind of draw that imaginary line from one side to the other and then connect the dots. You can do it that way. All right, so going back to your gonadal shielding, guys. Okay, so when we're shooting the hip, we can shield the guys, right? Yes? Okay? Because it's out of the way, it's not in the hip joint, so we can shield the guys. Also females, can we do that? Right? Well, here's the hip. Yeah, we can do the female. Yeah, we can shield the females too. Okay. So that's just a variant shield demonstrated. How are we doing on time? Do we know what slide I'm on?
41.
Oh, we're only 41?
Yeah, it's 60.
I gotta stop the talking. To show you guys pictures. All right. Here is an algorithm to follow when you have a patient that shows up from the emergency room or as an outpatient. The basic views when doing a hip study is one pelvic shot. Okay, we're going to include the hip bones from the top of the crest all the way down to the symphysis pubis, so one pelvic shot. And then you will take 2 isolated shots, an AP in the lateral of the hip. Okay, so routine hip views is 1 pelvis and 2 hip radiographs, an AP in the lateral. So an AP pelvis and an AP lateral hip. You guys remember what I meant about the radiographic hip? So the radiographic hip is we're trying to take a picture of the hip joint. Okay? Everybody got that? Routine views for the hip is 1 pelvis, an AP hip, and a lateral hip. Those are your routine views. AP pelvis, AP hip, lateral hip. So you have somebody coming in from the ER or as an outpatient. First shot that you're going to take is an AP pelvis. Now before I do anything else, I'm going to look at my AP pelvis to see if there's any trauma to one of the hip joints. If it's non-trauma, we're going to do an AP hip. Okay, patient's laying down. Okay, no issue, no biggie, just shoot an AP hip. This is non-trauma. Now the next one here is what we call a frog leg. So now they're going to bend their leg and drop it off to the side. Okay, Captain Morgan. Okay, drop it off to the side, and now you're going to take a lateral of the hip. This is non-trauma. Okay. Now if it's trauma, AP pelvis, AP hip. I can't do this now, right? So what's the next shot to get that lateral hip?
Cross table.
What is that called?
Crotch shot.
Infrosuperior. So we'll do the infrosuperior to get the lateral of the hip. Okay? So this is your algorithm. All right. AP pelvis, 14 by 17. You're going to use a large image receptor. Image receptor, if we have like the image receptor that we have in the back that's 14 by 17, you're going to place it crosswise. Not the length, but crosswise. Okay, side to side. Okay. So, let's see, central midway between the level louses and symphysis pubis, textbook positioning page. I don't know what the heck that's saying here. All right, so open up your collimation 14 by 17 to the size of the image receptor. You're going to place the top of your image receptor or the top of your light field about 1/2 inch above the iliac crest. Okay, 1/2 inch to 1 inch above the iliac crest. Okay, so the top of your image receptor or the top of your field, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch above the iliac crest. And midline to the patient. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it. Now, for test purposes, it says you need to be centered between the level of the as-is and the symphysis pubis. Okay. You can also use that as your landmark. But again, it's a lot easier to just put the top of the image receptor at the top of the crest. Okay. Have the patient internally rotate their foot about 5-10 degrees. 5 to 10 degrees. What does your book tell you? Because we're not shooting hips, so there's just going to be a slight rotation. So, I want to make sure
15 to 20 degrees.
15 to 20 for a pelvis too? Is that what it said? Okay, 15 to 20 degrees rotation of the foot for a pelvis.
Rotated
Inward.
internally.
Internally, foot in. And so what we have here is you have the tech putting a sponge between the legs, and then they take the foot together to maintain that position of 15 to 20 degrees rotation. Like so. Okay, can we shield? No.
You're gonna be in underwear.
Say that again?